All right, Guardians get it done again yesterday, guys.
Ohio Cup champions, baby!
Yeah!
It's coming home.
It's coming home. It's coming home.
Yes. Exciting
Wow.
times.
Our national nightmare's over. It took 1 year to get the cup
Did you
back.
see what Zach Meisel tweeted about the Ohio Cup? We actually have the tweet, and
No,
it's right under the
what did he
game
say?
montage. He said that the Reds were using it to hold toothbrushes in the locker room.
Ooh.
And now it's coming back to Cleveland. What are the Guardians going to use said Ohio Cup for?
I mean, are they going to urinate in it? Like, what's it's
I know.
gross.
This is what Zach said.
Cleveland has regained possession of the coveted Ohio Cup. Ontario Street will soon be flooded with fans reveling in the euphoria that only this feat can. Nicely done, Zach. Kyle Manzardo was named Ohio Cup MOP.
Which is actually true.
I didn't even know
it's a real thing. Yeah,
The
it's a real
Frank
thing.
Robinson
Yep,
Award,
yep.
yeah.
Why are we showing Kyrie?
I don't know,
now?
yeah,
Because this
why-
is a live look at what Ontario Street looked
Oh,
like last
okay,
night.
I see.
Oh, that was good.
Manzardo, by the way.
Wait, real quick.
Yeah.
Zach Jackson and Zach Meisel for the Athletic, both low-key very funny. They both put,
Yeah.
They both
I'm not
have
even sure
ways
they're
of tweeting
snarky.
things.
They're
Yeah.
both
Very deadpan.
dry
Yeah.
humor,
Yeah.
yes.
Who do you think's funnier? We're putting you on the spot here. Both friends of the program, both part of the UCSS family.
It's a tough call.
I know Meisel a little better, and I've talked with him more, so I think
Yeah.
I'm going to go Meisel.
Even after your Zach Jackson.
Zach was pretty funny yesterday.
I was gonna say, yeah.
No, he
Yeah,
was.
I'm gonna ride the fence on this one. I'm gonna say it's a tie.
I'm pleading the fifth. I was gonna see if either of you guys would bite. And Chris, now we know you hate
I fell
Zach
for it.
Jackson.
All right.
You hate Zach Jackson. It's okay.
Yeah.
By the way,
Let's talk some cards now.
so not only do I want the Guardians to do well because I am a fan of the Guardians, but I also want them to do well so I can talk crap to people.
Mhm.
I love talking trash.
You do.
And so many so-called Guardians fans jump off the band. Like, the Browns could be 3-9 and people still want to give them benefit of the doubt. The Guardians have a bad few weeks. They're the worst. They're terrible. Everything stinks about them.
Did you see our guy Aaron, who's a friend of the show? He's come in studio before.
Oh, Aaron Lee, right?
Aaron Lee, yeah, he
Yeah.
tweeted at you and
Oh,
I
my
after our
God.
discussion the other day saying, why would the Guardians make a move? They stink. Even if they add a player, they're still not good enough. And my response to what
yeah.
our conversation was is the American League's so wide open.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, you got to go for it, considering the fact that no other team is a juggernaut or.
At all.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, Aaron's been a friend of the program. We like Aaron a lot, but it's a perfect encapsulation of the difference in how you look at certain teams.
It's crazy to me how there's fans that every time you criticize the Browns get mad. There's a segment of our fan base. Certainly not all, but there's a segment of the fan base. That doesn't really exist with the Guardians. If it does, it's a very tiny, tiny percentage. But there are fans that the second things go wrong for 2 seconds, jump on the bandwagon. Jump off the bandwagon. When this team, and listen, I've criticized the Guardians plenty. Ownership does not spend enough. We've been through this time and time again. There's problems with the organization. It's certainly not perfect. But it has always been, or I should say, for the last 30 years, it has been almost always a better run organization than probably both teams, but certainly, much better run than the Browns at all times.
I'm 35 years old, and I think in my lifetime they've been out of the running for the playoffs like 5 times, maybe.
Yeah.
They are so consistent,
Right.
so good. But the problem is, it's baseball. The fact that you play so many games in a row, you kind of ride the waves.
Yeah.
And I think in the NFL, you got 1 day a week, and you spend all week, and you can talk yourself back into
Yes,
it.
right.
And then,
right.
you know,
Yes.
if the Guardians go on a 5-game losing streak, you're just compounding that
Right.
negativity. But I think, hey, winning the Ohio Cup, getting a little momentum behind them, that's a good thing. Especially, I know we thank Tito and we don't hold any grudges, but it's nice to beat the old guy, right?
Yeah, sure.
It was a good win, too. I mean,
It was a very good win.
Cantillo pitched well enough. He had some trouble early.
I can't say he pitched well when he pitched 4 innings, but
his stuff was good. Obviously
it was a bizarre game because he had 9 strikeouts. He didn't allow a lot of base runners, but he had so many deep counts that he only could make it through 4 innings.
And offensively, the Guardians at one point were 3 for 45 over the last stretch with runners in scoring position before Bazzana eventually gets the bases loaded, hit the drive in the first run. Then they put a couple of runs on the board. Manzardo caps it off.
Well,
with
it's
the
2 home runs for Manzardo
in the series.
in the series.
Four in the 6 games.
Yeah, so
which is why he got the Frank Robinson Award.
Yeah, so good. I mean, I hope this is a trend heading in the right direction. I mean, obviously those numbers aren't great, but they're not. I mean, the OPS
leads the team in home runs now, which is crazy.
Again, that's not. I mean, 13 home runs is not good enough, but I don't know if anybody's going to hit 20 home runs for them.
I was going to say, we had that topic a couple weeks ago when I was on, and I didn't think Kyle Manzardo might be the leader in the clubhouse to hit 20, but right now he only needs 7 over the next 40-something games.
No, it's more than that. I mean, how many games? What's 60? The Guardians' record? I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Hold on, we're pulling it up.
No, I mean, it's still 2 months in the season. They got about 60 games left. So they've played 110 games. Yeah, they got 52 games.
52.
Right. Split the difference. Yeah. 52 games left. I think Manzardo's going to hit 20 home runs. Now, again, 20 is the fact that we're worried that nobody's going to hit 20. That's a problem, and that's why they need to try to add some power.
You guys did laugh at me when I put that as a fence rider question, and it looks like once
did
again.
We laugh? I don't know.
Yeah, because we all said someone was going to hit. It was unanimous that someone. Oh, I went on the other side.
Was this before the season or no?
No, this was a couple weeks ago.
Well, no, we updated it a couple weeks ago. We also did it before the season.
Yeah.
And we all said unanimously, yes, someone is. And, of course, whenever we do unanimous answers on fence riders, which, by the way, we're doing fence riders tomorrow, 0 unanimous answers.
Yeah, but
0.
But ultimately somebody's going to hit 20. I bet you they'll – how many home runs does DeLauder hit?
11.
11?
Yeah, they got a couple guys with, I think, Angel has 11, DeLauder has 11, I believe Jose has 11 as
I think Jose is 10.
Does he have 10?
I think it's 10.
I think
but either way,
Bazzana's got 9.
Bazzana has 9.
Listen, they don't have enough power. They need more power. It's going to be hard to get power. These things are all true. You don't give up. You find a way, and hopefully between adding a bat and guys who are capable, because I do think Manzardo, well, some of these guys have proven it already, but Manzardo, Ramirez, DeLauder, and Bazzana are all guys to me that are capable of hitting 25-plus home runs or have hit 25 or more home runs. So that doesn't mean they're going to hit enough home runs that it's going to be good enough the rest of the year, but it could be.
It could be.
It could be. I'm a little worried about Jose because the type of injury that he had tends to sap your power when you come back, and so we'll see about him. But hopefully this is a sign that Manzardo's getting hot. He's had a very bizarre season. He was terrible in April. He was great in May and June, and he was terrible in July until the last couple of days. So hopefully he has a strong finish to the season. I know there's a lot of people that have jumped ship on Kyle Manzardo. I am not one of them. I never thought he was going to be a superstar. I thought when they got him, I've thought the last couple of years, and I still think now he's going to be a good major league player. Remember, I don't have to have a superstar at every spot. The Guardians' problem is not that they haven't had enough superstars, although they haven't. You'd want more. Their biggest problem is they've had too many zeros in their lineup.
Exactly.
You could get away if you look at like some of the teams that are hitting really well. It's not like they're loaded with some teams are, like the Dodgers are, right? But like look at the Nationals, I believe, have scored the most runs in Major League Baseball. Maybe you can double check that to see if I'm right, Anthony.
They're up there.
I know they're up there, okay? And they're not a great team because their pitching's terrible. But they've got one superstar in James Wood, who's a young player who I bet you most of our fans...
He's awesome.
Man,
he's awesome.
Most of our fans probably don't even know him.
He's
awesome. There. The rest of their team, they don't have any superstars.
C.J. Abrams is a good
C.J. Abrams is a very good hitter, and he's having a very good... He's a terrible defensive player, so they're going to have to... I think eventually he's going to have to move over shortstop. But you look... And really, again, even the Cubs are another team who I obviously know well, and they've got a lot of good hitters. Pete Crow Armstrong's their superstar. That's it.
Yeah, because Nico Horner is not like he's a very good player.
Yeah, well, they've got a bunch of good hitters. Seiya
Yeah.
Suzuki, good hitter. Ian Happ, good hitter. Alex Bregman, having a bad year, although he's gotten hot
But
lately.
still
good hitter.
plus.
They've got a number of good hitters, but they only have one superstar. So you don't have to have a million superstars, but you can't have You can't have too many zeros in the lineup, and they've had that
it's
too many years.
The baseball equivalent of an offensive line. Would you rather have Joe Thomas and 4 nobodies or 5 guys who are all pretty solid? And sometimes the 5 solid guys is a better overall unit than having a line where you have an absolute stalwart, but you could be attacked with your other weaknesses across the line. It's basically, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yes.
If you have 2 or 3 zeros in the bottom of your lineup, which the Guardians have had, and still this season have had at certain times, it's just so hard to put together crooked numbers because you're getting to a point where it's almost a guaranteed out.
The momentum stop is the bottom of the lineup. You can get guys on, but then you got 3 in a row who are hitting under 200. That's that.
There was a number of years where the Browns in like the 2012 to 2016 range had like 4 really good offensive linemen, and yet they would always have one spot that was so bad that it would make the overall offensive line look bad, to your point. What did you say, Anthony? I couldn't hear you.
The Nationals lead in home runs and runs batted in. They lead the league.
Right. So they lead the league in home runs and runs batted in, and James Wood is their only superstar. And again, they don't have the pitching that the Guardians do. So and the Brewers are having a great season, and they don't hit a ton of home runs. So you can do it a different way. Ultimately, you need a few guys that can hit for power in the playoffs. You're going to need that when you face top-of-the-line pitching, and we've seen that's what's led to the Guardians' downfall in the playoffs. But they still have the bottom of their lineup is still bad. Is still too bad. The middle has improved. The upper middle has improved with DeLauder and Bazzana, who will eventually be higher than that. But right now they're upper middle, looking at general compared to other teams. But so that's improved because they really had no upper middle before this year. And so having those 2 guys makes a difference and makes their lineup more formidable. And those guys will have the capabilities of and Rocchio establishing himself as and again, Rocchio's the perfect example. He has now established himself as a solid major leaguer. Yeah. He's not a superstar. He may never be an all-star, but you don't need, ideally you'd like to have 5 or 6 all-stars in a perfect world, but that's not realistic. So what you need is to have guys that are solid major leaguers. Guys that will look back 20 years from now, and you're probably not going to remember Brian Rocchio unless he has a historic moment, regularly. But you'll think, oh, Brian Rocchio, he was a good player. You'll think of him really here and there. It's not going to stand out like Jim Thome or Manny Ramirez, but he'll be remembered eventually as a guy who was, when you discuss a team that he was on, that guy, I remember him. He was a solid ball player, good ball player. That's what you need. You can't have more than one. If you have more than 1 zero in the lineup, even 1 is a problem. Mm-hmm. But you could live with 1. If you have more, it's a problem. And they've had way more than that in past years. They have less than they've had this year, even though they're still not hitting well enough overall, but they still have too many.
I think we've seen a transitional this is a transitional time in the mentality of the franchise, because for so long they had those slap hitters, the Stephen Kwans, the Rocchios, the guys who don't hit for a lot of power.
Yeah.
Look at their drafts the last couple of years. They've gotten the Jay Laviolettes. They got the Chase DeLauders, the big bats. I think at one point the franchise saw the game going, we need slap hitters, we need guys on base, we need that guards ball. Yeah. In the last couple of years, they're like, okay, we need power. Obviously, you have to win with power. So I think we got to be
Rafi
Velasquez, yes. I think we got to be a little patient to see that next wave of that transition, because baseball is not an immediate fix. It takes a couple seasons, but we're starting to see the fruits of that transition from guys just hit high average and get on base to guys who actually put the ball.
They still rank 30th in the league in OPS right now, which is
crazy.
But I agree with the premise of what you're saying.
Until those guys do it in the majors, it's just
correct.
Potential.
You're right.
And Anthony Castrovins, and this doesn't really relate to the Guardians as much, but it tells you some reality about prospects. Anthony Castrovins, who's from Cleveland, great writer for MLB.com, recently put out a column. It was fascinating. And since MLB.com has been doing their top 100 prospects list, I think it's been about 20 years, give or take. I think there's been 101 or 102 prospects traded that were on this list.
For the Guardians, this is baseball?
No. For all baseball.
Okay.
And only a third of them have had a career WAR of 5, which is not good, a career WAR of 5 in the majors. only 25% have had a career WAR of 10. So only 1 of 4 top 100 traded prospects have even had a serviceable MLB career at this point. And so that tells you, like, you can't rely only on prospects. And while I like the fact you're right, they have been more aggressive going after power hitters, some of them are not going to pan out. That's just the way it goes. And especially with power hitters, and this is why the Guardians have often not taken power hitters, because there is more variance in a power hitter, because power hitters often strike out more. Guys who strike out more in the minors are more prone to not panning out in the majors. And that's why we've seen some guys like a Bobby Bradley in the past and others, Franmil Reyes, Oscar Gonzalez, John Kenzie Noel, guys who had like big time power in the minors, but their swing, once you face better pitchers, it just was not going to be enough consistency.
To put a bow on this whole conversation, we started with Manzardo winning the most outstanding player of the Ohio Cup conversation, which obviously tiny little sample size, but he did play well this series. Well, how much does this Guardians lineup change if Manzardo gets back to being a legitimate threat?
Yeah.
As opposed to what he was the last month.
Listen, one of the biggest reasons why the Guardians lineup is as bad as it is because the guys we thought would be their 3 best players have not been. Now, obviously, Kwan's been better lately, and Jose was hurt, so that's part of it. But even before he got hurt, he was playing fine for a normal player.
But he was subpar Jose.
He was above average for a normal player, but he was subpar for him. And obviously, Manzardo has been overall, even though he's been at times great, at times terrible, overall he's been below average this year. If those guys were playing like they did last year, with the emergence of Bazzana, DeLauder, and Rocchio, this lineup, then you'd have 6 guys you really could count on. Mm-hmm. But there's been, with Bazzana and DeLauder, there's been some inconsistency. Overall, they've played both, but very well. But there's going to be inconsistency with young players. There's going to be inconsistency with any major league player, or most. But there's going to be even more with young players, no matter how talented they are, and they're both very talented. But if those guys can get back to being the players that they've been, Manzardo's smaller track record, Kwan a little longer, and obviously Jose, then you have 6 guys you really believe in. And we haven't had that this year. You haven't felt comfortable at any point this year with all 6. You haven't felt confident in them because Manzardo's been so spotty, and Kwan until recently had been terrible, and Jose had been hurt. But if I can get all 6 of those guys, okay, yeah, I don't really trust Angel Martinez. I know he was okay, but so you still, even with those 6, you still have, if I'm saying Kwan's the left fielder, I still got an issue with DH because Hoskins has been nothing.
At best.
And you got an issue at center, and you got an issue offensively at catcher. Now, the catcher's been a little better than I expected. They've been okay, and I could live with that at catcher if everything else is fine. But everything else is not fine. And so they need to address center field, left field, if you want to move Kwan to center for the rest of this year permanently, or DH or first base, whatever it is. You want to keep I'm not giving up on Manzardo. Now, if I have to use Manzardo to make a blockbuster trade,
so be it.
I'll do it, but I better get a superstar, a proven superstar, if I'm gonna do something of that nature. So I don't think they're gonna trade him, but we'll see.